Good evening, everyone. I am very excited about tonight. It's an honor to be asked to host this kind of thing, and I'm quite nervous. So I've got notes and everything everywhere, but I know that I'm not going to be the main one bringing stuff to the table. I'm mostly just going to be inviting everyone else to talk. So that's you guys. You guys get to be the content tonight. I'm just going to be the one trying to get you guys talking. That's my job. So we are on the fourth chapter of this book. I've been loving reading this book. The first three chapters are really building on what we're talking about today, which is how to create positive change in a team. And he's talking about in here how everyone can get in front of something that's moving right and be like, hey guys, let's keep on going. Anyone can do that. But to see something heading in the wrong direction and have someone be able to go in front of there and turn that ship around, heading it in the right direction, takes a leader. And so in digging in this chapter and thinking about how this applies to our Plexus businesses, and my goal is for today is so that everyone goes away feeling like you didn't just get a bunch of head information, but you actually can kind of see how this applies to what you're doing in your business. So I guess where we all start here is that in Plexus, we're here to change lives. So you're going to hear the word change a lot tonight. We're about changing, shifting, changing people's worlds, making a new world, shifting what's going on. And we're all here to do that. So my first question, if you read the book, he kind of coined the phrase that leaders need to have change, like money in their pockets, to bring change to people. So the change is what the other chapters were talking about, like the influence, the prioritizing, and the integrity. So I would like to see in the comments, or you can unmute, what are the things that give you the change that you need in your pockets, like the change you have with people, to be able to bring change to people's lives. So drop that in the comments or unmute, because that's kind of the foundation of what we're starting with. And so this is a bit of a review. This is a review question, because we've kind of covered this last 3 weeks. Okay, so I'm seeing trust. So yeah, the integrity, adding value, following through on commitments, serving, giving your time. Yes, adding value. I'm just going to say something about the adding value part. I know if you're new to thinking about leading and developing the leader in you, a common lie that people might come into is thinking you don't have value to give, but you've been given value to give. That's something that you are created to have. So that's just more like having the eyes to see. So I just want to make that note. Okay. So, like I said, I have lots of notes here. So if I look away, that's what I'm looking at. Here's a question I have for you following up with that. What stops you from having the change to make change? And what stops change from happening? And you can unmute. You don't have to just comment in the chat. So Brittany says, when people don't trust you, so that's a good one. Fear. Okay. So we got a lot of similar, your own insecurities, okay? Lack of belief. Okay, so very good answers. You guys are following along really well. A couple things that John Maxwell brought up was something that stops a team from moving into change is what you mentioned, things like fear of ridicule, fear of being awkward, focusing on the loss. He talked about that. He's like, we're going to get, whenever we create change and bring something new, there's something going out too. So if we're focused on what we're losing while we're trying to focus on bringing something new in, we'll lose focus and it will stop the change too. One other thing he said was feeling alone was one thing that he mentioned that stops a team from moving forward, is if they feel alone. Okay. So now is when I'm wanting to get everyone to think about get a kind of a story in your mind, or a few stories in your past, where you felt stuck, and then you figured out how to get, to success again. And I say success with quotation marks. Or maybe it's more you were ahead of the game and you saw momentum declining, and you were able to identify the problem, and you were able to get things back going again, or that kind of idea. So to identify this story, you might think about just problems that you had to deal with. That's kind of one way. Problems that came up that you had to overcome. The problems you had to overcome. That will help you get that story in your mind. And I just really wanted to hear these stories, and you get that story in your mind. And then I have questions I'm going to be asking as you kind of share bits and pieces of that story. So it's not like you're going to be sharing the whole story, but I'll be asking questions and you can share the parts of the story connected to the question I'm asking. And then when you're hearing the answers to these questions, I'm also going to be asking a question for everyone else who might be listening to take what you need from those questions and gather it for you moving forward. So it'll make sense once I start doing this, what I mean. Okay, so you got your stories? Does anyone have a story in your mind so that we're ready to move forward? Just let me know in the chat.
I have one. I
Okay.
have 1,000, but
Yes.
I'll just pick one. So I'm always trying to solve my own problems in my own business, because I know that if I have a problem in my business, then my team is eventually going to have the same problem in their business. And so when I'm trying to solve my problems, I'm generally doing it from a future focused lens. Like, I know if I solve this problem for myself, I'll be able to solve it for others. So one problem I had when I felt stuck at Emerald was I felt like I didn't know who else to talk to about Plexus, because I felt like I had talked to everyone that I knew, and I just didn't. I mean, I just had a small network, and I just felt like I was out of people to talk to. And so what I had to learn was how to cold market recruit, and that was a skill. So I learned the skill. I actually took a course, taught myself this skill, practiced it when I didn't like have anybody to talk to about it. I did feel alone in this. But I learned how to do it. And then not only did I learn how to do it and I created new business builders out of a cold market that I turned warm, just through practice. I was eventually able to teach my team how to do the exact same thing. And so now most of my team, I'd say 99% of my team is from a cold market, people that I did not know before Plexus. And I think almost all of my top leaders, if not all of my top leaders, I think all of my Jules would probably say the same, that their top leaders are also people that they did not know before they started their Plexus business.
Wow. That is really, really encouraging to hear, actually. Because when I think about what stops most people from getting to where they want to go, is because they reach that problem, but they never actually identify the problem so that they can make a plan to solve it. So if you read the book, you will see that John Maxwell creates this acronym. I don't know if you can see it. It's the acronym Plan Ahead. And this is his acronym for helping you know how to overcome problems with a team. And what you're talking about, he mentions that first step of identifying the problem is one of the things that most people don't notice. They don't notice where the problem is that needs to be solved. And so the first step in creating positive change is identifying the problem. So a common one, problem of I ran out of my current warm network, and you found a way to overcome that. Is there any other problems out there that someone ran through and had to deal with? It's going to be hard to get you guys talking about this one. Like, there's not a lot of problems to have to solve.
I'll go.
Go ahead, Suzanne. Was that you? You go first.
Yeah. So it's pretty simple. I think it's like one of the first things that we have to do when we get started here. And it was maybe something that I could have said, no, I'm not going to do this business because of this. And it was being able to navigate social media. So when I started, when I got on Facebook, zero. And I had to figure it out. And I also had to be okay with failing forward and completely messing up, putting stories up that went backwards, that I'd have to take it down, and 10 people probably already saw it. So I had to be okay with knowing people have already seen this. So I had to figure it out. I had to figure out, how to put words up. And it seems so simple, but if we get tripped up by it, and then we're not, that's just like, we're not going to move forward with that. And I had to be okay with messing up. And I try to teach people to do it on their own, but because I was able to figure it out, and I'm able to share with other people. So it seems simple, but I figured it out. It was kind of scary in the beginning, and now I have people say, "Well, Suzanne, look at you."
What I want to hear is you solved the problem of the social media, but what problem did the social media problem fix?
What did it fix? That's a good one.
Yeah. In context of this, the problem would be in correlation with the business process, and the social media would have been part of the steps of how you're going to solve that problem. So yeah, I would be curious. You might need to think about it for a moment of what was that problem that you overcame by learning the social media. Like for Brittany, she had a problem of she needed to recruit people. She needed more people in her business. So she found the plan was to go to cold people and find new people to bring in.
Yeah. So I guess the problem that it solved was me just being able to get exposure. Because I pretty much am cold market. So I had to put myself out there, and for people to be able to see me, for me to be able to share my story. So I guess that it solved that problem.
Mm-hmm. The exposure, getting
exposure.
people to...
Yep, I definitely needed the exposure. Yeah.
Okay, Eva, you're going to talk.
Okay, so I don't know if this is a problem, but it was something I experienced at Senior Ruby. I had this like overwhelming feeling where I suddenly felt very out of control with not knowing everybody on my team. Like I knew everyone on my team up until that point, and then people would come, and I at least knew, like I knew most of their names. I knew at least what team they were on, and I prided myself in that I knew my team, and I knew what they were doing, where they were doing it, who they were doing it with, like where they were growing. And like I knew this, and all of a sudden I was like, couldn't keep up. And it was like panicking me. It was like making me feel like I was a terrible, like I'm not keeping up and not gonna be able to do this. Like, how would I even do this as a diamond? Like, I can't, something has to change. So that's just, so you can dig into me, Sherry, on what, because I was actually trying to identify through the steps, like how I would have done this. I think I all just did it in my brain. But I had to let go of that control feeling, first of all, and recognize that I would need to trust my leaders, that they had their teams, and that that was a pivotal moment in my leadership journey, to recognize that it's not about me. I don't need to know every single person. It's the beauty of this business is the duplication that gets handed down. And I had to pivot to focusing on my 20%. At that point, I didn't even know what that meant at that time, but I had to recognize I need to focus on the people that are closest to me and want to work with me. I don't need to know everybody's names. I don't need to. So I had a lot of like, he talks about that in this chapter. What things do you no longer need to know, or no longer need to do, or no longer need to have like stored in your brain? And that had to let go of that stuff. It was actually really hard at first.
Mm-hmm. So you definitely started unpacking that really well already. You already got a lot of the answers of what you did there. Anyone else want to share? I think we have one more.
I was at Ruby for a really long time, and probably like quite a few years, probably 3 years, maybe more. The first half, I wouldn't have considered myself stuck. I had worked really hard and I had paid off my debts and I was really enjoying where I was at. I got married and I had 2 babies. So it was great for a while, and then it became our only income, and suddenly we definitely needed more, and but it wasn't growing like I thought it would. Like I'm really good at like customer care and retention, but when it came to like I need new growth, now I need to actually build people up to beyond gold and higher levels. I had a really hard time with that because I didn't see myself as a leader and I didn't see myself as someone who could guide someone to do that. And so that's when I started feeling very stuck, was not knowing how to move people further, and then while also raising myself up higher. And so that was kind of, I went to a Ruby retreat in, oh, this is quite a few years ago. So I remember where it was, probably Nashville. But there I heard someone talk about who is a leader you want to become. So that we talked about that in the last chapter, right? Who, like, it's more important who you want to become than just the goal you're going for. And so I had to switch to what kind of jewel leader do I want to become? I want to become diamond. I want to have like these amazing team Zooms, like book studies like this. I want to have customer calls, and I want to have all these amazing things that I want to do, but I only have like 2 people. So I felt like I had to wait till I magically have this big team one day and can be this leader, until I recognize that I have to be that leader now, like become her where I am right now with the 2 builders I have, do those things with them, like practice being that leader with them, practice like that belief in myself as a leader. And that right there, just that awareness and that becoming the leader I wanted to be in the future, like shifted everything. And I was able to raise up better people and bring in better people. And then we went senior Ruby and Emerald really quickly after that. So that was a really, really fun time in my business.
Okay. So by shifting you and developing your leadership, it ended up impacting the whole momentum of your team. Yeah. So this is something that I think okay, I'm a very visual person. I have 3 papers here that are just like how my brain works. So I'm just going to share it with you because I feel like it helps you understand what I'm thinking. So when I was reading the chapter and digesting it, this was the visual I had. Now, can you see this, or is the light, maybe if I took the light down, can you see it? Can you see this in my picture?
Kind of.
Okay. Yeah. Well, this is good enough. It's a circle within a circle. And in the center circle here is you first, and then outside of that is the teams. And when I read the chapter, what I noticed was that you are the one that has to identify the problem. And as a leader, you're going to find the team that's going to solve the problem. Now, the thing with you first is you first that sees the problem often, but also you're the first one that is the change too. And so just you become the one that solves the problem by finding the people and to solve that problem. Does that make sense? So when we're talking, when I read the book, he's often talking from the perspective of, okay, you have a team that you're leading. Here's the process to help a team to overcome something. But lots of times in these problems, we're leading ourselves even more than the actual team. And even examples here, I'm hearing that a lot. It's like, to impact the team and solve a problem in the team, I had to first start with seeing the problem in myself and shifting that first. Another little thing I thought was cool. Have you seen the plan, do, review cycle? It's the process that like John Maxwell talks about it and Eric Worre. It's this concept that we're always planning what to do, doing what we planned, and then reviewing, and then starting over again. Well, something that I noticed about the acronym of Plan Ahead was it was basically this process. It was the process of identifying the problem, making a plan, and then talking to the people. That was the difference. So hopefully, I feel like if you could see my pictures, it would make more sense. But you've got the plan, do, review, and kind of in between that, you've got identify the problem, make the plan, find the people, do it, identify any the worst case scenarios, And then reviewing is the whole part of celebrating the wins and the last 3 things that he has. So anyway, I'm just sharing that just because in my brain, it helps me take this concept that he's talking about and apply it. So that's a little extra thing there. Okay. So here's my next question. When you think of, okay, so first, before we move in the next question, when you think about your business right now, I'm kind of talking to everyone. When you think about your business right now, the first step is, what is the problems that need to be addressed? Can we identify them? That's the first step. So can you identify right now and jot down in a notebook, or you can drop in the comments or whatever you want to do, what is a problem that you're seeing, you've identified, that needs to be addressed so that you can make positive change? Because that's the first step. Okay, the next question is, how did, in these stories that you shared with me, like Brittany, you shared about the having to learn how to get to know new people and stuff. He talks about how there's an important difference between making a plan, but then also deciding what is the priority of the plan. So would you be able to share with us a bit more of the plan that you made, but also the things that you realized not to do, like the things to do and the things not to do? Is that clear to you in your story, that you think would be helpful to share? Do you understand my question?
Identify the things to do and what not to do.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So in the example that I gave, maybe I need to give a better example, but in the example that I gave, I would say what to do is figure out the solution that is effective, that gets me results, and figure out whatever the process was that I was using, how to explain it to someone else. And what not to do is try to get my team to do something with me that I have not quite mastered myself.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that one's really, really good, because I learned that lesson very recently, actually. That what not to do, but not to get the team to do something that, what did you just say? Not to get the team to do something that you hadn't got results yourself.
Yeah, but I've not quite mastered myself. Yes.
Ooh, that one's so big. Okay, how about Eva and Sarah and anyone else? Like, if you have a story that comes to your mind as we're doing this, and you feel like you have an answer to the question that really suits, just pop in with it. So the question is, so identify the problem is the first step, and then the next 2 steps is making the plan. And making the plan has to do with laying out your steps, but then also identifying what you're not going to be doing. So it's not just making a plan of all these steps and things you're going to do to do this. You also have to decide what you're not going to do. So I'd just like to hear in your stories, what was the things that, I think in your stories, to make it clear, is to identify the things that you didn't do, or the things that, yeah. I think my question makes sense, but let me know if you need me help explaining more.
I think your question is clear. I just can't think of what. I don't know if my story was a good example of this, but what definitely didn't do was stay where I was in the mindset that I need to be under this pressure to know everybody on my team, and that I need to be the only leader of this team. So not staying in there, because that would just been so stressful, and I knew that it had to change, or else I wouldn't be able to build further.
Mm-hmm.
Then what
did you do? Because you saw that you had to basically have leaders.
Yeah.
Is that what you'd say?
Yeah,
what did you do?
Develop leaders and recognize the ones that were there, that I maybe was just like viewing everyone as just someone on my team, and wasn't viewing that I had some leadership happening there.
Mm-hmm.
Recognize them more. Yeah.
Okay.
Question?
No, that actually is a really good example, because what you needed to do was, you had all these people that needed to be cared for, loved on. They needed to be shown things. That was what needed to happen. But what you didn't do was try to do it all yourself. You're like, no, I need to identify the leaders and invest into the leaders, right? Is that what you would say, or what would you say?
Yeah, exactly. It put them, then my focus then on my new plan moving forward was like focusing more on them only and putting them together. That was really enjoyable part of my build for sure. Watching my leaders like really loving each other and enjoying each other and growing together.
Mm-hmm.
That wouldn't have happened if I would have stayed there.
Yeah.
Most likely.
Sarah, have you identified this question in your story that you'd be able to share?
I would say mine was around beliefs because I had a really low self-belief. So to no longer hold on to the beliefs that I couldn't lead, that I wouldn't be able to raise up someone beyond gold. No longer holding on to that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Again, it's like it's not all outside of us, the things that we choose not to do. So much of it is inside of us. And that's a big thing that have taken a very long time to really not just understand up here, but to understand in how I worked. Okay, so the table's open for you to share, but I think a question in the chat that might help with bringing this to you personally is, what are the top 20% of things with this problem that you've identified in your mind? What is the top 20% that you should do that's going to get you the 80% of the results to solve that problem? So that's what you need to be thinking about. And if that comes to you, you can drop in the chat or just write it on your paper. And if someone wants to unmute with an example of this.
If your heart is pounding right now, you're the one.
Can you maybe rephrase the question in a different way? Or remind us what you're asking?
My question is, with the problem that you faced or are facing right now, what was the 20% that you had to do to get 80% of the results?
Oh, I have a good one.
Okay.
The problem was no business builders. And the 80% was, or the 20% was talk about the business. Like post about the business and talk to people about the business instead of just the products. It really does amazing things when you talk about the business.
Mm-hmm. That one's a really good one because we see that problem all the time. People are like, I want this big business, but I only have this much time. How do I do that? And it's like, well, you're going to have leaders. To do that, you're going to have to talk about the business. So, yeah. I feel like I'm making your guys' gears grind. You're like, how do I bring this to my life? And maybe I should try to find better questions to draw it out of you. But I'm working with you with what you give me, and then we'll get this figured out. Hopefully, you feel like you can take something away from this. Okay. So I think we've got some good examples right there. Brittany, I have this question for you. So the next step that he has is identify the people that you need to go talk to. So you just were talking about this whole situation of needing to go talk to new people and your success with that. And so how did you find those key people to talk to?
Yes. So I had to go basically make new friends. That's what I had to do. And so I just thought about where would somebody that I would like to make friends with be hanging out online. And so I would go in various places online. I would connect with like-minded people in certain Facebook groups. Sometimes it would be in the comments section of an influencer that I liked to follow. Or not an influencer, maybe more like a thought leader, because I care exactly zero about influencers. So it's not authentic. Thought leader. If I would go in the comments section and find other people who engaged in a thought leader's post, and I would make friends with them. So I would basically just learn how to turn a cold market into warm. Basically just how to make friends, but I did it online because I had a lot of kids and I didn't really leave my house that much, and it was the best option. But I also put myself in situations where I would meet new people in person as well. That was around the I did. I met Michelle Michelle Stuchel. You just heard from her. She's a Sapphire and my level 1. And I met her at a homeschool group. Another one of my level 1s, I intentionally, and she's on here too, Jana. She's a senior Ruby. I intentionally joined a local talent show so I could meet her and be her friend. No regrets. And ended up, so anyway, I just did various things. I just learned how to make friends online. I learned how to make friends in person, and I did it very intentionally and on purpose because I'm an introvert and this has not come natural to me. So I would make myself checklists and like trackers, and like just to make that was the most important thing that I could be doing, and it wasn't something that I like naturally wanted to do or was good at or anything. And so it took a lot of discipline, so I tracked it. And then after I did that and got good at it, then the most important people that I needed to talk to were my leaders who were going to run into the same issues eventually. Like they were recruiting. And so I just began teaching them, you've got to expand your network as you go so that you don't run out of people to talk to. So.
Okay, so you went and met like-minded people, and then from there, the people that would communicate with you and connect with you, you would then connect them to Plexus from there. From the customer base, so this, you can answer this, Brittany, or someone else can answer this. When you're looking at a team of people and you need to be able to identify that top 20% that gets 80% of the success of the team, how do you go about finding that? How do you go about identifying that?
That is such an important question, and it's make or break. It is make or break for whether change is going to happen or you're going to fall flat on your face. Ask me how I know. So you would start with the person who, if that one person doesn't like it, it's just, no matter how much you like it, it's just not going to matter. Like you got to get that one person on board. It might be 2 people that you get on board. And they're the ones with the influence. They're the ones, if you try to roll something out and they're not on board, then nobody's going to be on board. And I think most people intuitively know who those are. So I always go to those 1 or 2 first, and then I'll go to all of the other top leaders on my team, because I just know that if the idea is good enough for those 1 or 2 to like it and be on board with it, then I know that it's good enough. Pretty much everybody will be on board with it. There may be some objections, but generally that's just kind of how the process flows. There's always going to be those 1 or 2 activators who are going to drive the thing with you, or bury it in the backyard and nobody will ever hear about it. So choose wisely.
Okay, so let's think of ranking up. Lots of times, you might rank up on your own initially, but at some point you're ranking up with your people and with your team. And he talks about this process of you identify your people, and then the next part is giving the space and time that they need to be able to accept the idea and kind of absorb it from themselves and overcome their own objections, which I think of this when it comes to, this happens when you're recruiting people on, Like, you talk to them and then you got to give them that space to process it. But this also happens when you go to really move with the team and you're like, hey, we're going for Ruby, let's say. We're going for gold, we're going for Ruby, and you have these people in your back office and you're needing to see who are the key people that are wanting to move. And then you start talking to these people about what they could do, because you can see for them what they could do. And then you overcome their objections and stuff. Can anyone talk to me a bit about how you do that? How do you go from seeing the people, identifying the people, to then getting them bought into this whole game plan?
I have so many thoughts on this, but I'm going to give somebody else a chance in case somebody else wants to say something, because I've been talking a lot.
Yeah, we want to hear your thoughts, Brittany.
Okay. Well, I will tell you my thoughts. I think that the best time to go for a rank up, especially a big rank up, is when you have people on your team who are also going for something. It could be a contest goal. It could be a monthly incentive. It could be their own rank up. But you need as many people as possible going after their own goals. When I see people going for a big rank up and they don't hit it, it's because they were trying to get people to push for something for them, which that could work if you are a leader who's added tons and tons of value and you can rally people that actually want to help you. I have seen that happen, but most of the time when somebody's going for a rank, they'll fly past it if they have people on their team also going for their own goals. The most strategic rank ups are the ones that are not, hey, come help me, but hey, let me help you reach that goal you're aiming for. And just do that with like as many people as possible.
Mm-hmm. That's really good. So you identify the people that want this.
Yes.
And then have you come across this, or is this just some people? So they want this, they're in it, but when it comes to actually doing it, there's a little bit of hurdles in between the wanting it and then doing it. What do you do with that? And you don't have to answer this. Anyone can answer this, but
I work with the willing.
That's like a whole smorgasbord of coaching to do there, if they're even willing, like Brittany just said. But if we're going for rank up, we don't have time for coaching. This is all prep work. Like going for rank up, you have prepped these people. They are wanting to go on this goal on this month. Yeah. I think those people tend to get left in the dust on rank up month. If the team is like rallying and there's like, that hurdle was there a while ago that they had opportunity to get over. That sounds maybe a little bit calloused, and I would totally be willing to help them if they are willing, but we're ranking up this month.
mm-hmm.
I think part of the prep is also sharing your journey and your process with your team all the time. And you can do that when you're silver. You can do that when you're brand new. You can practice when you're new. Because when you have a big team or you have a bunch of leaders or builders, you share your process. You just share where you're at. Then they know when you're going for Ruby. Everybody knows. Everybody knows we've been going for Ruby. Like it's no surprise. It's not suddenly announced 2 days before the month is ending and nobody knows what we're going to do. And it's momentum, good, yes. But I mean, like when the leader is doing something and the team doesn't know and it's suddenly announced, they don't know how to switch those gears suddenly without really clear, fast direction. And so if you're always sharing your journey with them, like where you're at and what you're doing and what you're going for, then like it's everybody, you'll see who's on board. You'll see who's following with you. And you'll see who's like, oh, me too, I want to do that too. And so I think that's something we can practice from wherever we're at right now with our teams.
So is it kind of like this idea of momentum creates momentum? It's like once you move with the willing, that ends up inspiring the people that maybe didn't quite have that same kind of belief in them. It's like belief builds belief.
Sherry, can I say something about a question in the chat?
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, what if people still perceive as you just, what if people still perceive you as trying to get what you want, even if you're trying to help them. And I have been asked before, like, how do you have such a high no tolerance? Like, why are you able to deal with what, aren't you worried about what they're going to think about you? And I think that one thing, number one, you can't say the wrong thing to the right person, and you also can't say the right thing to the wrong person. And so I have found that most people who are doing as much or more than I'm doing, very rarely will they have time or take the time to criticize what I'm doing. Usually, if someone is going to um, make a judgment call that would be, negative or derogatory or whatever, it's because me trying to shine makes them feel some type of way by staying small. And that's not on me to have to deal with that. So I actually was going to make a post about the same thing tomorrow. So I just think we have to be concerned with what our motive is. What is our motive? Is it okay that we're going to benefit if we help somebody? The answer is yes. Is it okay that my daughter's soccer trainer, he makes money because he comes and gives value to her one-on-one as a goalie trainer? He should make money for helping me with what I need help with. And so I think the same thing about sharing our products or our business. So you just have to choose what you're going to focus on. Could they choose to think that about you? Yes. Could they also choose to think, I'm really glad she decided to help me. I'm so glad that trainer decided to offer lessons for goalies because I really need that. And so I'm really thankful he is willing to do that. So,
Can I piggyback on that? Because there was a line in the chapter that made me think of you, Christina. He said something like, people have different tolerances for ridicule. And your tolerance is just very high. Like, you just have a very high tolerance for that. And other
I
people
grew up with mean brothers. I think that's why.
I think some of it's just hardwired into you. Like, it's just your personality, like, right? So, and I think that other people, like myself, have a much lower tolerance for ridicule. Okay. So that line jumped out at me because he was talking about, first of all, the player who had the low tolerance. And then he talked about the leader's response when somebody has a low tolerance. And so I think we have to be mindful of people's tolerances. Okay. So I've always known that Christina has very high tolerance for no's, high tolerance for rejection, ridicule, like literally just not much care about what people think of her. But I think most people are not this way. And I'm one of those people. I definitely do care what people think of me. And so for me, to be able to reach out to bring Plexus up, whether it's somebody that I just met on the internet or somebody I joined the talent show to meet her, like, or at the homeschool community, it doesn't matter. For me to bring it up, I will bring it up at the point where I feel like I have something valuable to offer that person. And here's what I mean by that. If it's a stranger, the point in the conversation where I bring it up might be the point where they're sharing with me that they're having some sort of financial struggle or some sort of health symptom that I know the products will help with. And I'm not saying you always have to wait until then, because another example is like with Michelle Stuchel, I was intimidated to talk to her, okay, because she was already a leader. She was actually one of my leaders in our homeschool community. We were in classical conversations. She was not just the leader of that community. She was the leader of every community in the region. She was like the SR, like over all of them in the region. And so she was definitely somebody I was scared to talk to. And so what I did was I figured out a way to make myself feel like I was bringing her something valuable. And I literally gave her a 7-day trial of Slim. Because back then, that's what we had. We had those sample packs, and I gave her one for free. And they were like $25 or $30. They weren't cheap, but have y'all met Michelle? And so I messaged her, and I was like, hey, would you just do me a favor and try this and give me your feedback? Just tell me how you like it. That's how I had to approach her. Like, I had to make myself feel like I was bringing her something valuable. And so I had skin in the game, right? And so I think that for me, relational, like I want some relational equity there. When I have relational equity, I can influence people, but I need to know what their needs are, or I will create the value myself by just like like I did with Michelle. Michelle tried the 7-day trial of Slim. She loved it. And I wasn't afraid to follow up with her after that. She blew me off. Like, she didn't join right then. She gave me like a whole bunch of excuses about her husband and blah, blah. So I wasn't afraid to follow up because at that point I knew she liked the products and I knew the products could help her. And so that built my belief, but I needed to feel like I was bringing her value. So I don't know if that clarifies or helps or maybe harms. Hopefully it did not harm, but I did feel like I needed to clarify, like, at what point do I feel like I can bring Plexus up? It's when I know I can solve a problem for them, something
Yeah.
specific.
I unmuted to say, if somebody ridicules you, I will fight them and burn their house down. So there's that. And I do think it has to do with personality for sure. It's funny that you say when I feel like I have something valuable to offer them. I feel that way when they meet me. Here I am. Glad
Yes,
you're
you
here.
do. You
Would
do,
you like a
Jen.
pink drink? So I did, but yeah, but I have to know, you've had to help me over the years know that not everybody's that way. Not everybody's going to go send 50 cold messages today. I will. I could care less. I know I can help people. But how do you meet people where they're at? And so I think that's a great point. You did not
Well,
harm. No harm.
everything you both shared, I feel like, is like the nuances within the whole chapter, because the whole thing is about how do you deal with ridicule, people's feelings. Like, these are the things that stop people, is their feelings. That's what he mainly talked about. And so it's both the feelings in us and the feelings in the people around us. And so we can't really help people with their feelings if we haven't overcome the ones inside of us already, which ridicule is probably one of those big ones. If we can't overcome it inside of us, how are we going to help anyone else overcome it in them either? I got an alarm saying that we're 6:45 already, and my brain's like, how did we get to here already? Maybe you're all like, well, it feels like it's about 6:45, but in my mind, it's nowhere near 6:45. So we're going to have to stop there. I had enough content to last us another 3 hours, apparently, but we're just going to have to close it out right there. And I hope that you're able to leave the Zoom feeling like you know that there's a process that people go through. You know that facing problems and coming up with a plan and then onboarding people to the plan and giving them time, but also being okay with their process is part of this whole thing of creating change. And I guess the one thing I really wanted to end with was he talks about celebrating wins and how to keep yourself and your team from sliding back into comfortable. That question right there, we can't cover it tonight, but I would go away and think about that, because being comfortable is the thing that makes us not go into change. So how are we going to keep ourselves uncomfortable and communicate and encourage our teams to stay uncomfortable? So that's a thought you can chew on when we leave, because I think that one is going to determine whether you stay moving on the change train or if you're going to hop off and let someone else change. Thank you for hosting this, Brittany.
Thank you, Sherry. Thank you for leading. Great questions tonight. I think everybody is leaving here thinking. That's what the chat is saying. So thanks for leading us tonight.
Have a good evening, everyone. We'll see you not next week. We're actually doing a little pause, right? For next week.
Yeah, no book study next week because we'll be having our team retreat, but we'll see you the following week for book study. But hope to see y'all on the team call that Amber and Lori are doing in just a few minutes. I'm sure it's going to be excellent. I'm very excited about it.
Yes.
It will make you feel like you have value to add. So you should definitely be on that one.
Yes. Yes.
All right.
See you there.